name is Niall Tuite. I'm with Lean Business Partners. When we're asked to talk at this, I just consider what could we talk about. And what I want to share with you is some insight into how we're thinking and what we're learning about Lean and about Lean transformations. So we titled this Meeting the Transformation Challenge, which is where some people are on their journey. Other people haven't got there yet and may be considering going into the Lean transformation. The subtitle for this for me would be Sustainability. What's the problem? And how do we actually get sustainability in what we're trying to achieve in terms of our Lean programs and what we want to do. So this is about me. I'm going to gloss over that and just highlight the fact that part of our training we offer UL. We work with UL for a level 9 certification for the IMDA and help them and contribute in some way to their expertise and how they're working towards Shingo. Outside of that, I just want to start talking about what transformation is about. So there's a lot of levers, a lot of things we need to do if we're going to go about transformation. It's about moving a lot of things a long way, and it takes time to do that. But if we've got to move everything from left to right, the way I summarize this and the way I talk to people about this is the whole idea of a learning organization. A learning organization is a functioning entity that will actually drive change and move things forward of itself. It's a society, a community of problem solvers who seek out issues, who use tools and KPIs like Arthur's just highlighted, and it takes them and it drives the gaps out of what's happening, and it continues to do that. So just to put it, there's a number of nice ways of thinking about what that transformation looks like with the Toyota house. There's a benchmark model that's used by the IMDA called the Moore model, and there's probably the Shingo price. But many, in part of multinational organizations, may have your own proprietary models that you've got to measure up to and you've got to sync in with the corporate entity. But these are, again, only a way of keeping you on your journey, pointing to what's the next phase and what we need to do. So this is going to challenge any organization. And through that challenge, you're going to change and you're going to have to manage change to go and do this. It's not going to be easy, it's not going to be free, and it's going to take a lot of involvement. So let's think about what that journey might look like. So we can assemble all the pieces and bits and the tools together, and we can march towards that nirvana, but it's not an easy journey. It's a lot of pitfalls. Yes, you'll have your quick wins, you'll take your low-hanging fruit, you'll have your good days. Equally, you'll have your black days, where every day is as dark as night, where you're wondering where you are, where you might revert to the firefighting culture that you exist and have at the moment in your organizations. There's going to be the pits and valleys where you're going to have to do soul searching, where you're going to have to think about, do I go forward? Do I stop? Do I go back? What is this journey about? You're going to have stagnation, the glass ceiling, where everything seems to fall apart and you can't pick yourself up and you don't know what the next step is. And when you start getting up there to the scaly heights, you still have one enemy, complacency. The whole idea that we're as good as we can possibly be, that there's nothing else to do. And in a lot of ways, that's the battle Toyota is actually challenged with. That's the one that they're fighting. But we're all well behind those on this journey. So if we're going to take this long journey, let's consider some of the steps that we need to take. So we need to gather some momentum. So let's think about what that is. So we need to take all the tools and we need to start adding in our programs around it. So we do need training. We do need to go outside, develop links, develop our people, That may be classroom, it may be going to colleges, UL, there's a whole lot of institutions who have lean training programs available, but a lot of it is training by doing, getting onto the floor, getting working with real problems. You need your champions. You do need someone to charge it, you do need to instill responsibility in someone, but they're only a vessel. They only have to pitify what you need to breathe into everyone in your organisation over time. Site visits are great. Would totally consider, get out there, see what other people are doing, join professional networking organisations, build your network and your contacts. And the last one, we might want to put together the glorious transformation program. Here's where you've got to be careful. This transition, this journey is not about managing a Gantt chart. It's about seeing the opportunities, growing your people. So it's not going to be a smooth ride. So by all means, do the planning, but don't depend upon that plan to drive what needs to be done. You have to adapt as you go forward. Now, so the other lesson that I would take out of this is that's your momentum. You're up and running. You've got your team, small amount of people taking off. You're getting the proof of concept. You're getting the naysayers under control in your organisation, and you're trying to move forward. But you won't sustain it. The sustaining is done by building inertia in your organisation. What do I mean by inertia? It's a culture that allows you to put in a small bit of effort and control on a consistent basis, that brings more and more people into the transformation, that gets more and more people bought into the change proposition that you're actually running. So this journey is about change and sustainability. If you want that learning organisation, that's what you have to do. So this is a part of what I've been thinking, what we in LBS partners think and talk about a lot within the organisation, what we've developed. I want to share with you some insights quickly on change and what does that mean. So quite recently I was introduced to this book, and it crystallised for me a lot of the things that I was using, a lot of the way I was using it. I recommend that you get this. There's a couple of lessons in this that I want to quickly share with you. The first being this whole idea. Change starts up here. It's in every person. And by being in every person, then it moves and it transfers into the organisational behaviour. But we got two things totally conflict in our brains. We got the logical side and the emotional side. And they're continually fighting each other. And the only way to harness a lean transformation program is to get them to work together. So that's one of the key takeaways here. So let's just build on that a little bit. And in this book, Chip and Dan Heath create the situation where they talk about the emotional side as being an elephant. Big, powerful, has the ability to move forward and create and do things, but has got a very short attention span. Wants instant gratification and doesn't like to think long term. On the other hand, he equates the logical part as to the writer, the one who is thinking strategically, thinking long term. The problem is, in an awful lot of the change programs we do, we put the rider in control. Key question is, who's the boss? The boss is the elephant. He's got the power. He is the one that will actually float the boat or sink the ship. So we have to think about how do we actually get this working. Now, these two gentlemen crystallise what we've been thinking and working with a lot of time, and they come up with three interesting things about change. One is that resistance often is the lack of clarity. So have you got the razor sharp goal? Have you got people focused in on one or two important things? Or have you thrown so many metrics out there, so many KPIs, that the guys are just delirious and not understanding where you want to go and what you want to do. The other one is laziness can actually be exhaustion. What we depend upon change much too often is that rider. That rider controlling and trying to manage and develop the program and move forward. That rider depends upon self-control and willpower. Psychological studies have shown that they are an inexhaustible resource. You cannot change habits through just willpower. You have to break them down, you have to change them, and you have to create an emotional element. The third lesson they say is people problems may actually be situation problems. How often do we actually put people into situations, when the situation fails, the person is seen as the issue? Have we built structures for them to succeed? Have we made it clear how we're going to support them? Have we let them develop their tools and their mechanisms for moving forward? So now, again, in response to those, there's a couple of things we can think about. In terms of going forward, the things we have to do is we have to direct the rider. He has to have clarity. He has to know where the destination is. We've got to motivate the elephant, and we've got to clear the path. So we've got to shape that path so that we reduce the resistance. So on those, very quickly, and I won't have time to go into this in a whole lot of detail here today, you've got to direct the rider, get that clarity, keep things moving forward, script critical moves. What's next? What's next? Just the small pieces. Because what's important to the elephant is that you shrink the change, that you have small increments of change, not big ones. How can I be successful quickly so that I can actually feel good about myself? And that's an important word, feel good. So you're searching for that feeling to drive change and organizational change. The last one here, they think of it in terms of shaping the path, but how can we build new habits? If the rider is going to get exhausted thinking their way through problems, how can we make processes and habits and shape habits that give us success without the rider having to control it? So that's very briefly, and they can all be developed quite significantly. I just want to take this and say, if that's the framework for change, and we look at some of the components of operation excellence, some of those tools that are in the heat that you're talking about, how do they correlate with each other? What's the relationship between those? And I would contend that if you are interested in why you're using that tool, and if you want to use that tool to actually do the three things that we need to do, i.e. direct the rider, motivate the elephant, and shape the path, then there is a huge possible correlation between those. I've shared here some of the tools that need to be on the floor, some of the tools that are absolutely are up in the top with the people making the big decisions. So if we do it right, the tools are there, the ability is there, but we have to focus on the people. So my takeaways to you this morning are these. Build inertia. Have as many people involved as possible and invested in that change. Make sure that you talk about feelings first in leading your organization. Get them to feel it. Don't ask people to do success. Ask people to shape a world-class working environment. Right. And when you use lean tools, be clear why you're using them. And that why is about people and developing the people. If the people are developed, the gap's closed. They have the potential to do it. You've got great tools like Arthur talked about in terms of OE. People will lap that stuff up if they feel right about your change. So that's all I have to say this morning. We're down in stand 24 if you want to drop by. There's some leaflets I've left around the place there if you're interested, pick them up. Thank you for listening. Hope you find this interesting, and please use what you can and get on the path and start your transformation. Thank you very much.